Hey folks, this is Zach, and I am on my way again to the Diamond Village Ravine. But this time, I'm dressed for success. And by that, I mean, I'm barefoot. Because I only own the one pair of hiking shoes at the moment, and I do not want to get them wet. So immediately, some people see me walking out here on, sidewalks and the road barefoot and go, "Oh my God, are your feet okay? Do you have like bits of glass in them and stuff?" No. I've been doing this for quite a while now. I read this book called Born to Run, and in the book, it sort of says that all of the really long distance runners, like ultra marathoners, people who go 100 miles in one run, they wear really, really light shoes, a lot of them, or they wear no shoes at all. The book sort of focused on this tribe called the Tarahumara, and they live in northern Mexico. And these are people who, from the time they're kids, all their sports are based on running. Like, one of them, and this is a really sad story, I guess, because these people, they will have like festivals. They're usually really shy, but they'll get drunk at the festivals and like go wild for a night. And the next morning, hungover or not, they'll all line up and they'll start running. Races that go 100, 200, 300 miles. And they'll just start running. All the food they take with them is some like cornmeal and bean stuff in a little pouch. And they could just run hundreds of miles. They're like genetically perfect for it, and they got trained for it from the time they were kids. But as the story goes, one of these Tarahumara women, this is quite a long time ago, maybe 100 years ago, decided to see how far she could run. And they have their own sort of language down there. Now there are a few people who were American or Mexican, like not from that tribe, who they've been accepted to live with that tribe, and they could speak decent English or Spanish now. But at the time, they had just their own language, and no one else really knew it. So this lady from the tribe decided to run as far as she could, looking for a place to cross. And she ended up in either Texas or Oklahoma, I forget which. And of course, that is hundreds or thousands of miles away. It's like the ultra marathon. But no one in Texas or Oklahoma knew what the hell she was saying. She was talking in her own language. It wasn't Spanish, wasn't English. Everyone thought she was insane, so they locked her in an insane asylum, like a sanitarium, for almost 20 years, I believe, until someone realized, oh, she's not just uttering gibberish, she is speaking a different language. Then they let her go, which that sounds like an actual living hell, being in this like padded white room with people who don't speak your language, and you're speaking perfectly clear in your mind, but you can't make yourself understood. That sounds terrible. But the point wasn't for this to be a depressing story. In that book, Born to Run, it's all about how the best runners have these different habits. Some people disagree, some people agree with it, that really supportive shoes that have a lot of arch support make the muscles in your feet weaker. So it's actually better to do sort of long distance running and walking. I did a bit of mountain climbing when I was overseas. I'd always leave my shoes at the base. You're supposed to do a lot of that barefoot or with very thin hiking sandals, like Zero shoes. So here I am, walking barefoot, and I am passing Beatty Towers right now. And soon I will be at the Diamond Village Ravine. Ooh, it feels nice to be walking on grass with no shoes on. When I first started doing this, I think it was when I was in university. And I live in Florida. It gets hot outside. All of us who live in Florida have gone to a pool at some point with no shoes on, because we're just like, I don't need this. This is the community pool. I could walk out here with no shoes. Then we're dancing around on the blacktop saying, oh, ow, ooh, hot. And when we finally get there, our feet are like black on the bottom. But it washes off. Your feet recover. Then you get used to it. So I wanted to make my feet stronger before I went overseas and did a big hiking trip. So I sort of did little runs around campus with no shoes on. I walked through the woods. My degree was forest management. I was in the woods a lot. And every once in a while, you will step on sand spurs or a pine cone, or once a little bit of glass that got into my foot. And you just gotta not panic, take a pair of tweezers or nail clippers and get it out. And over time, like I stepped on a bit of glass on the way here today. Someone broke a bottle in an intersection or a crosswalk. Didn't go into my foot. My feet are fine. I can step on pine cones, doesn't really bother me. Like I could walk across. If you've ever been on one of those like foot massage pathways where they put a bunch of little pebbles in the concrete and you have to walk on them. It like massages the bottom of your foot. I can now walk on them without feeling that much pain, which is incredible. But anyway, enough about feet. I'm sure a few people have turned off the video because they're like, ew, feet. We are almost at that bridge, and if anyone remembers, it's not just hiking in the ravine. There's also a storm drain I sort of wanted to crawl up. I'm not sure about the size of it. I'm going to, like, it looks big, but I'm going to try to stick my head in there now and see if I can fit. I got a flashlight on me. I'm going to actually break off the video and text one of my friends and say, if I don't text you again in the next 3 hours, call fire rescue. This is my location. Never had to get a rescue. Hopefully today's not the first day, but I'm not a massive fan of tight spaces. I was exploring some wild caves in Malaysia, this town called Merapo, and the guide told me there's this big rock outcropping and there are caves in it, but you have to find them, and it's surrounded by jungle. It took like 3 hours to go around this. I only found 2 of the caves. One of them was like a straight cut through the rock. It was really cool. You had to take your shoes off there too because it was silt and water, but that was pretty straightforward. There's another one that I didn't know if it was really the entrance to a cave. Like, I had to sort of bend over like this and shuffle my way in, and I thought I could easily get stuck here if it gets any narrower. I don't have a knife. Like, there's that movie 127 Hours, and someone in the backcountry who was hiking or mountain climbing, he was caught in the rock slide and his arm got stuck under a big rock. Like, it was pinned. He couldn't move the rocks. There were other rocks on top of it. And what he had to do, this was like a movie based on a real event, he cut or sawed his arm off, then carried it down the mountain, and I think he got reattached, or at the very least he got a prosthetic for it. I would never want to be in that situation. The movie's called 127 Hours. I don't want to spend like 5 or 6 days sawing my own arm off. If I ever got like a badly broken leg in the middle of nowhere, I'd rather just like cut a wrist and go out peacefully. I've had a very fun life. I don't want to spend the rest of it not just suffering from broken bones, but also like the American medical system charging hundreds of thousands. I don't have the money for that. Not sure if I can include that on YouTube. That's probably like content warning, suicide or something. So we'll see. I'll put it in and take it out if it offends people or offends the YouTube censors. I'm here. I'm going down this little slope again, and this is the sort of terrain where you gotta be careful with your feet because there could be smilax, which is it's easy to recognize. It's a vine that all the leaves are sort of penis shaped, and it has thorns on it, so you don't really want to step on that. Other than that, there shouldn't be anything too sharp here. I'm not really that worried. As you can see the little river down there. Things like that never show up great on camera, but it'll be better while I'm walking along it. It sort of starts up near Beatty Towers. You got this bridge here, and the river keeps going all the way out to the med buildings. And if you remember from last video, over there is a geocache, sort of a thing that people hide and write the coordinates for, and then people go around and find it, sort of like a scavenger hunt. I brought a few fun things to put in there because right now there's nothing cool in there. I brought a coin from overseas and go shove it in there, just so the next person who comes to this area can have a little treat, I guess. Ooh, rocks can be a bit harder barefoot too, but conversely, I climbed one specific mountain that was very rocky, and I took my shoes off on purpose because it was also very slippery. And it doesn't matter what hiking shoes you have, your feet are almost always better at gripping the rock and not slipping off it. So if you're going somewhere slippery, you don't want to fall down, you're climbing a waterfall or hiking along a waterway, take your shoes off. It's a lot easier to get by. Right, and here we are, folks. We got the big geocache, ammo box labeled geocache, and they've sort of locked it on. So I'm going to get this thing open again. And as before, there's a little list of names. I've not written mine down. Oh, there's a pencil for writing your name. That's cool. And there's some trinkets at the bottom. What you're supposed to do with these, if there's a real community in the area for it, is take one and leave one. I'm not going to take one, because like the kids around here might do this. I don't need to take from them. But I got this little coin. It's worth like a penny or a penny and a half. But it's from Indonesia, so I'm going to toss it in there, and some kid will hopefully find it. It'll be fun. All right, and we're going back down the slope. Ooh, there are actually pine cones here, so I'm going to turn the video off and sort of look at the ground. Crossing the little river again, and oh, it's cold water, very cold. The weather is very hot outside, but the water is not adjusted yet. And here, okay, it's bigger than I remember. I could definitely crawl in there if it's not too filthy. The shirt I'm wearing already sort of smells like something crawled into my armpit and died, so it's ready to be washed. And storm drain. How clean it is, I have no idea, but we're going to see what's in there. Let me text my friends first, actually, just in case I get stuck. All right, I'm about to crawl in there now, but I have not forgotten about the ping pong ball from last video. It's just 2 days ago. I'm going to leave it in the tunnels as far in as I could get. So if anyone else is crazy or stupid enough to crawl into a storm drain, they can find it and see if they got past the point I did. So I'm wearing long pants. They're quilted inside. I've rolled them up. Ooh, that's water. I've rolled them up so they sort of have a double layer on my knees. And that will make this a bit less painful. But I'm trying to keep my legs to the side because the middle of the drain has got water in it. And it's still pretty cold water. So let's start going. All right, it's pretty big in here. I'm not at all worried about being stuck, although I texted a friend just in case, told him where I was, said if I'm not out in 3 hours, call the cops. I can actually sort of crouch and walk on 2 feet, and my head's not brushing the top. Now, I'm not alone down here. I don't mean that in a creepy way. There's some little spider webs, there are mosquitoes, a lot of water. Progress is slower than I thought. My knees still do hurt through those pants. You could see out that way. It's right outside is that little cave entrance. But I love doing this stuff because caves are like part of the human psyche. That's where we were safe from wild animals at night. It's like the bowels of the earth. So exploring any sort of underground passageway I think it makes most people happy. It makes me happy, at least. All right, let's keep going. I'm gonna put the phone down so I could use both hands to crawl. All right, I've made my way a bit further along. You can still see the exit back there, but this actually reminds me of that cave I was just talking about. There's a cave I went in Malaysia, wild cave. It wasn't like, I guess it was open to tourism, but there's not many tourists there. I knew the one local guide. I stayed at his house when I was there. This cave was like a cut straight through the rock. This was maybe a half mile or a mile in circumference limestone cliff. Just went up 300 feet, had jungle growing on top, jungle growing around. You get a lot of those in Thailand and Malaysia. Both countries are connected, but land borders, so it makes sense. But these are some really cool things. They all have caves under them, caves going through them. And this one was sort of like this. It was, you could see the side you can see outside, for maybe halfway through. You were walking through a couple feet of water and silt at the shelf at each side. So 10 feet into this cave, the place I'm in now echoes, but in that cave there is not an echo really. And it just absorbed all the sound. So 10, 20 feet in, I sat on that shelf and started reading. It was the most silent place I've ever been. It was awesome. But in the middle of this cave, there's a big room, and there's sort of like a twist, like a U-bend in a toilet. And in there was this big ass toad, a cave toad. This thing was the size of like 2 of your fists put together. And it saw me coming with this same headlamp, actually. I have pictures to prove it. It's cheap gear you buy can last a long time, actually. I never understand people who buy $100 headlights. But I saw 2 of these toads, and each one, when they saw me, I can't swear like that, but they flung themselves into the water in the middle. Like they were bouncing off rocks and just like flying into the water. It was incredible. But when you went into that room in the middle, you could not see any light. Like, if my light had failed, I would have had to use my crappy phone from the time. But there were stalactites and like crystals up on the ceiling. Then I went out, it was just like a 10-minute walk through the whole thing. I've always wanted to go in a bigger cave. I was recently in Indiana, and they have quite a lot of caves there. My dad grew up there. He said they used to go into the caves with a fifth of whiskey and get drunk, and sometimes their lights would stop working and they had to crawl out. But now, like Nature Conservancy or another group owns the caves, and they have put gates in front to protect the bats. People go in there, they'll hurt the bats. You should not be disturbing them when they're hibernating, they could die. But it makes me sort of sad. A lot of our parents' generation, the one before it, did all the cool stuff, then made laws that prevent us from doing the cool stuff. And I wish that the world was set up a bit better for, explorers to be able to explore without worrying about legal issues and big fences that we can't get through. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. I'm going to keep crawling now. It's a lot easier when I have the phone off. I could use both hands. All right, and up ahead here, we have a sort of room. It's dripping. It's full of like rougher concrete. I'm going to crawl up. Ooh. Actually, I'm sort of like walking with my head bowed down like a little frog. Let's see what's inside here. Oh, we got, not good on the video, but we got a ladder already. There is no natural light in here. If I turn off my light, all you see is that little pinhole up there, which is, a manhole. Okay, we have a really weird looking ladder. Some of these are covered in concrete. I'm not gonna walk up there because, damn, I might have to, just because I said I won't. But it looks like it's covered in rust. I don't really want that on my bare feet. But you see there's a manhole up there. And, there's a smaller drain right here. I'm not sure how I can reach that. I don't think I can. It looks a lot smaller. I have to like crawl on my belly through the water, so I'm not gonna do that. I will climb up a few of these to look into that drain though. I could do that at least. All right, they're not too rusty. The rust is not like coming off on my hands, but I'm climbing up this ladder. It's actually a very ergonomic ladder, but it's difficult because the stone curves inwards, and it's not nice climbing when the part above you is curving inwards. From here though, I need to go down one rung. From here though, we can sort of see into that pipe. And it looks like it gets narrower down there, so I'm not going to try leaping into it from here. I'm not really an acrobat. I had a friend who I did rock climbing with briefly, and she might have been able to like jump and grab a handhold there, but I'm not doing it. That's maybe a 10 or 15 foot drop to the floor. And I don't want to fall on this floor and just end up in this grotto, this sort of wet grotto. So it wasn't as long as I thought, the storm drain, but I'm happy I was able to crawl down it. It's sort of cool to just be in the place that I don't know how many people have actually been here ever. Like, you look at the floor, it's just like sort of rough concrete, leaves, water. And up top there's that little manhole. So, happy I went down here. Ooh, I'm going to turn the camera around. There's another pipe leading out actually. All right, so this one's actually at face level. Like my face lines up exactly with it, but it is, it's only like a foot and a half across. There's no way I'm crawling into that. I'm sure someone could do it, but that someone is not me. I got a few ants crawling on my arms now, but they're not biting, fortunately. Ant bites from the steam tunnels haven't healed. But I'm going to make my way back down this tunnel and get out at that little exit. Then we're going to walk down the ravine. I did not expect the storm drains to be so cool, but we still got to do the main part of our trip. All right, folks, see you on the outside. All right, everyone, we are almost out. It feels like being born again. Actually, that's a disgusting thought. So, let's get out here, pick up my sunglasses I left outside. Completely forgot to leave that ping pong ball in the other room. So I'm actually going to
I'm gonna turn around and put that back there. And I'll be right back this way. All right, folks, I found something I think is worth showing off. I'm gonna try not to disturb it too much. But up here, we have a little bat. See him? He's sort of nesting in a cave that's been dug into the rock on the top of the pipe. Bats, I'm not gonna touch him. He's sort of shivering. He doesn't like being looked at, but probably doesn't like the light. I'm gonna move away from him before I keep talking. So bats sometimes they're solitary animals. That one was by itself, but they usually fly out at night and they eat lots of bugs. Bats are good. They're almost all federally protected. One way, if you have a homeowners association you don't like, one way to mess with them is by building a bat house behind your house. And once bats move in, they are not legally allowed to take it down because the bats are protected. And the bats are helpful too. If you have a house with a big backyard, build a bat house. They don't smell that bad. Actually, they use bat poop in a lot of makeup still, I believe. But bats eat bugs, mosquitoes. They eat huge amounts of bugs. One bat can eat hundreds or thousands of bugs every night. They have a special way of flying and seeing. They have something called echolocation. So they make a high-pitched noise with their mouth, and they have those big ears because that noise is like sonar or radar. It will bounce off other things flying around, whether it's food, other bats they don't want to hit, or like a hawk or an owl that's trying to eat them. And they make like a 3D picture of the world around them, and they can avoid all those bad things and catch all the ones they want. So, unfortunately, bats are interesting. They have a very, very strong immune system, so they end up being carriers for lots of diseases, like COVID, for example. A lot of people think it started with someone eating undercooked bat in one of the wet markets in Wuhan. When I was in Thailand and Bali, I met a couple teachers who taught English in Wuhan for 20 or 30 years each. And they were going on about there's a bioweapons plant there. They knew something was going on. They actually left Wuhan within 2 weeks of everything shutting down. One of them in Thailand had a team of doctors actually catch up with him and test him on the spot, like, you've gotten out, but we need to make sure you don't have anything. In the end, I think that was sort of pointless because it spread anyways. Apparently there's quite a large, I'm not sure if I could post this on YouTube, there's a large sort of government event in Wuhan with 100,000 or 200,000 people. And this was right before the Lunar or the Chinese New Year. And there are some people who knew there's a sickness going around, but they sort of have a kill the messenger culture in the government, so no one wants to be the person who says, sorry, you 100,000 or 200,000 people, you can't fly around the world this Lunar New Year, you have to stay put in quarantine. No one said it. They flew around and ended up spreading the virus everywhere. That's just based on what the local people there told me and the foreign visitors, but it sounds better in a lot of other explanations. All right, I am back in this little sort of grotto area. I'm going to leave the ping pong ball here for kicks. I'm also going to leave an arcade bar in Gainesville. I'm just going to leave all the tokens here, so if you ever are feeling adventurous and you want 25 cents worth of arcade bar tokens, crawl into a storm drain. I feel like it's easier to do adventurous stuff if you have like a little reward at the end. So I'm going to leave this stuff here. And I'll see you on the outside of the pipe for real this time. And here it is, just before I go. Arcade bar token, it's a ping pong ball over here. You crawl down, take this. If you do, be cool and leave another little trinket here, sort of like we're geocaching. It's like an adventure geocaching. Crawling down pipes and stuff and really exploring the campus. I lived here 4 years when I was a student, and I got to explore it a lot more than most people because I was a forestry and ecotourism major. So I was all around the woods. I probably went to every park around campus for dendrology and other tree-related classes. But I also did a lot of exploring on campus. We have woods all over campus. I'm gonna make some videos soon about other hidden places around UF, like the Bonfire Woods. There's a few weird shrines out in Lake Alice Woods too. So that will be the next video. But for now, let's get out of here. My toes are going a bit numb.
All right, let me get this thing off. Brush my hair out of it. Probably got spiders or something in it. There's not many bugs down there. I'm sort of exaggerating. You don't need to worry about that. Whew. And retrieve my sunglasses. So we're gonna go and walk down that river now. Go sort of fix my pants first so they don't get wet. Nothing's worse than walking in wet clothes. That's true. Nothing is worse than walking in wet clothes. This is Editor Zach, and I had to cut the video off there because it's already almost 25 minutes. We're going to pick up right from there in the next video when I sort of roll my pants up and get into the river. Till then, folks, peace. See you later.